The Technomancer in Outriders specializes in gadgets, turrets, and toxic abilities, allowing you to play anything from a support class that heals your team to a backline damage dealer or a more run and gun tanky playstyle. In this video, we're going to look at the 3 skill trees you can use to customize the Technomancer to the exact role you want to play on a team, and how you can really craft a character to the playstyle you want, whether that's in solo or group content. Hi guys, I'm Legionless and this channel is about helping you enjoy your games more. If you want to enjoy your games more, subscribe to the channel as there's so much Outriders stuff to talk about before it releases. Liking this video would also really help me out. Just a quick note that the skills in this video and the skill trees we're looking at are possibly subject to change, since Outriders isn't scheduled to be released until February 2nd. Of course, this is probably unlikely since Outriders was originally scheduled to release around holiday 2020, so a lot of the skills are probably ready to go, but they're just finalizing everything to be the best it can possibly be. The Technomancer class has 3 skill trees you can invest class points into. Each of the 3 are pretty separate playstyles, but there are some skills that are shared between 2 trees. These shared skills allow you more deep character customization if you want to break away from a particular skill tree's mold. All classes in the game have a way to self-heal that's done through combat to promote more active and faster paced combat. For the Technomancer, just doing damage with your weapons will heal you. A portion of the damage you deal comes back to you as health. I don't want to bore you all with going over every specific skill in these 3 skill trees, so I'm going to go over what the bigger picture is for each skill tree and what kind of playstyle each tree is built around, so you can get a really good idea of how you might want to play the Technomancer. The top tree is called Pestilence, a really cool sounding name that focuses on weapon damage, the Technomancer's toxic status effect, and buffing yourself and your team's damage, or debuffing enemies to increase the amount of damage they receive. This is the DPS focus tree for the Technomancer, with a very clear focus on sniper rifles and assault weapons for a more longer range playstyle. Many skills in this tree just flat out increase any weapon damage you do, with some additional skills further increasing the weapon damage you do with snipers and assault weapons. There's a few skills you can also go with in this tree that are really going to make your Technomancer a glass cannon. Cannonade is a skill that gives you a 30% damage buff to you and your allies for 10 seconds when you use any ordnance ability. Likewise, there's a similar skill at the end of the Pestilence tree called Empowering Antenna that gives a 40% weapon damage buff to you and your allies when you use a decay ability. Depending on how buffs stack in Outriders, this could be an extremely powerful combo to use to increase the entire team's damage for a small window. The real icing to this cake is 2 sides of the power, which increases the amount of damage you take by 15%, but your weapons do 20% more. The Technomancer's abilities fall under 3 types: ordnance interrupts that disrupt enemy skills, gadget turrets that are deployable equipment, and decay abilities that inflict a toxic status effect. For the sake of not going into Technomancer information overload, the specific class abilities aren't going to get covered in depth here, but they will in the next video, where we look at all of the abilities the Technomancer has for you to use in combat. All you need to know right now is that the Pestilence skill tree naturally combos very well with ordnance or decay abilities instead of the gadget abilities in the class. Pestilence Technomancer is a backline team support DPS cannon way of playing, where you'll be focused on buffing your and your allies' weapon damage from safety to do as much damage as possible. The middle tree is called Shaman, which is a very tanky skill tree focused around increased health, damage mitigation, and the gadget abilities. This is a little less flashy compared to Pestilence, since it's really more about using the close range gadgets in the Technomancer's kit and using the damage mitigation to face tank so much damage that you'll just overwhelm whatever's in front of you just by outlasting them in an endurance test. Shaman also gets some healing skills that are going to be really important to not overlook, since Technomancer's main self-heals are going to come from doing weapon damage, since part of that damage comes back to you to restore your lost health. Since this tree isn't going to get as much damage buffs as Pestilence, the damage mitigation and the extra heals you can invest in this tree are going to help with survivability, especially if you want to be playing a little more up close to the combat. The Shaman Technomancer is going to be a low-key carry class, with a ton of ways to both reduce the damage you take and the total amount of health you have. You'd think you won't have to worry at all about about going down, but if you do go down, every 3 minutes you can get a second chance to return to the battle with 50% health for 10 seconds. The wording on that is a little vague, as it's not too clear if you have 10 seconds from when you go down to use it to get back up, or if it automatically happens and you'll only have 10 seconds of health until you go back down again. Either way, being able to self-revive is going to be a really strong skill if you're really interested in a more tanky playstyle with the Technomancer's gadgets and abilities. The last Technomancer class is called Demolisher, which seems a little odd when Pestilence was so hyper-focused on damage. A Demolisher is a playstyle about using your ability cooldowns as often as possible and making them even more powerful than normal. The skills you can invest in with this skill tree are going to reduce the cooldowns for the 3 abilities you have equipped, but you'll really want to be using the ordnance abilities. Almost all of the investment nodes in this tree are going to buff the damage and power of the ordnance abilities or proc some self buff when you use an ordnance skill. This skill tree is for those of us that love to play using cooldowns and abilities more than our weapons. With how cool some of the skill abilities are for the Technomancer, I really can't blame anyone for being extremely interested in Demolisher Technomancer, and I personally cannot wait to try building my character into having the least amount of ability cooldowns as possible because I really like spamming abilities for kills. It's really important to mention here that all class trees are going to be killing enemies and doing damage. One class or a particular skill tree aren't strictly limited to the confines of a damage, support, or tank system. Since it's the way you go about killing enemies, that's truly what separates each tree. Pestilence is going to deal as much damage as possible, Shaman is going to kill enemies while just absolutely refusing to go down, and Demolisher uses your equipped skill abilities often and powerfully. The next Outriders video is going to be everything you need to know about the Technomancer's ability skills, which will really tie together how the skill trees can start shaping your gameplay. Let me know in the comments below what skill tree you're getting really interested in for the Technomancer. If you want to enjoy your games more, subscribe to the channel and join the Discord from the description below, where we're starting to theorycraft how we're going to use the Technomancer skill trees once Outriders launches on February 2nd. Thanks for watching.